Imagine a place with blue glaciers, teal water, lush forests, and incredible wildlife. Then imagine a place where you can get an up-close and personal view of humpback and killer whales while a group of sea otters are resting on a nearby buoy. And if those images do not spark your imagination, think about spending time in a dog sled camp where all types of puppies are being trained for the upcoming Iditarod Alaskan dog sled race. Imagine lush, beautiful gardens with every variety of flower, tree, bush, and shrub from around the world. I will take you on my journey and bring these images to life. And I will hope you will get immersed in the scenery of Alaska and British Columbia, Canada, and grow to appreciate it as much as I did. We departed the port of Seattle on Royal Caribbean's Explorer of the Seas, and we sailed north from the Pacific Ocean up into the interpassage of Alaska. The following day we arrived in Juneau, which was our first stop on our itinerary. Juneau is the capital of Alaska, and it has a population of approximately 33,000 people. The day consisted of a bus tour to Mendenhall Glacier, which is located in the Tongass National Forest. According to Kate Troll in the article In the Time of Glaciers from the Interdisciplinary Studies in Literature and Environmental Journal, the Mendenhall Glacier is a 12-mile river of ice, which lands on the far side of Mendenhall Lake. The Mendenhall Glacier is one of many glaciers that connect to the vast Juneau ice field, a 1,500 square mile remnant of the last ice age, cradled high in the coastal mountains. From the Mendenhall Glacier, we went back on the bus and headed over to Elk Bay, where we boarded a smaller tour boat to embark on a late afternoon whale watching expedition. Our boat passed a group of sea otters relaxing on a nearby buoy. We saw humpback whales and killer whales while we were out in Elk Bay. Even though we captured a few pictures of the whales breaching the surface of the water, I've also included a professional snapshot taken from a book that I purchased while on the tour. This book, titled Alaska's Watchable Whales, Humpback and Killer Whales by Mark Kelly, provided a wealth of information as well as spectacular photographs of Alaska's whales. We learned that a humpback's powerful tail fin is called a fluke, and the fluke measures 15 feet from tip to tip. We also learned that the full-grown whales reach a length of 42 to 46 feet and will breach or surface to the top of the water every 12 to 15 minutes to breathe. This creates the large spray called the blow that goes 6 to 20 feet in the air. Once we returned to Juneau after whale watching, we continued with a walking tour of the city, which included a tram ride to the top of Mount Roberts for breathtaking views of the city from above. While at the top of Mount Roberts, we visited a small cabin where the local craftsmen were carving a full-size totem pole out of a large block of wood. The Tlingit Native American tribe is one that is located in Juneau, and according to Catherine McClellan in her article, The Inland Tlingit, Memoirs of Society for American Archaeology, this Native American tribe is one of the largest tribes in southeastern Alaska. The next day we cruised 90 miles north from Juneau and arrived in Skagway, Alaska, where we exited the ship to join a bus tour to a local dog sled camp. If you love dogs, this is the excursion for you. We were shown around the camp and were then given a demonstration of how the dogs practice and pull the sled on a dirt test track. These young dogs were already being trained for the upcoming Iditarod dog sled race across Alaska. In researching for this presentation, I found an article by Don Bowers titled Iditarod Race History, The World is Changing, which explained more about the race, which takes place every March and runs from Anchorage to Nome, Alaska, crossing over 1,100 miles and takes approximately 10 days to complete. It was interesting to learn from the tour that the dog sled drivers, known as mushers, do not pick just huskies to run their dog sled teams. Rather, they look for dogs from a young age that show strength, courage, endurance, and the ability to follow commands. There were many dogs on this particular dog sled team that were your everyday mutts or mixed breed dogs. The tour wrapped with some of us volunteering to hold puppies, which were 9 weeks old. These puppies were the future teams that were being built for the next year's Iditarod race. We were warned to not try to sneak them out of the camp in our backpacks or purses, which sounded funny at the time, but I'm sure someone tried that along the way, which is why they said it. We awoke the next morning to the most amazing up-close views of the Dawes Glacier, located in Tracy Arm Fjord. This particular glacier is known as the Endicott Arm. The captain turned the ship around 3 to 4 times in a clockwise fashion to allow every one of us on board to get a beautiful 360-degree view of the glacier. According to USA Today travel guides, Tracy Arm Fjord, the #1 best things to do in Juneau. A fjord is a long, narrow inlet with steep sides or cliffs, which are created by glaciers. This particular fjord was 45 miles south of Juneau and stretched 27 miles long. As we continued to cruise through Tracy Arm Fjord, we were treated to the most beautiful teal water that we had ever seen, and we were surrounded on all sides by lush forests and roaring waterfalls. Peppered in the water were the remnants of last winter's icebergs that the ship captain was carefully navigating through. The next morning we awoke with our ship being docked in British Columbia, Canada, the last stop on our trip. The ship was docked there for 1 day, but we made the most of our day by taking a bus tour to Butchart Gardens in the quaint town of Victoria. As described by Lyle Dick in this article, Butchart Gardens, the public historian, the gardens were the passion project of Jenny Butchart, wife of the owner of the Portland Cement Factory in Victoria, British Columbia. Mrs. Butchart transformed a scarred industrial wasteland into beautiful nature by the planting of a single rose bush. After decades of development, the gardens are now sprawling and are covering over 55 miles. These gardens were filled with flowers, trees, and shrubs from every area and region of the world. There were gorgeous water fountains and picturesque statues everywhere in the garden, which added to the beauty and majesty. When our day at the gardens was over, we returned to the ship, which sailed directly south to the port of Seattle, and with that, our trip had come to an end. In conclusion, today I have informed you of the beauty and scenery that lies in southeastern Alaska and British Columbia, Canada. I discussed the various glaciers and that we saw, along with the magnificent scenery and wildlife that we were able to interact with on our trip. Perhaps what you have seen here today will inspire you to take a similar trip and create your own wonderful memories of this beautiful region of the country.